Most people think skincare starts with a recipe. I'm here to tell you that it doesn't. Following recipes is why their products never feel truly professional. Professional formulas are designed completely differently before you ever pick up an ingredient. And once you see what professionals do instead, everything clicks. So if professional skincare doesn't start with a recipe, what does it start with? It starts with a formula. Now, here's where most people get confused. A recipe tells you what ingredients to mix together. It's usually a list of random ingredients written down in any order and usually listed in baking measurements like cups and spoons. You can't see the reasoning behind it. It looks like a random list. A recipe is designed for you to follow, not for you to actually understand. A formula is completely different. It tells you how something is built, how the product is actually structured. Rather than using kitchen measurements like cups, spoons, grams and ounces, a professional formula is written in percentages, and that difference changes everything. When you're following a recipe, you're copying. When you're working from a formula, you're designing. That's the shift. And if you've ever felt like you don't really know how to start formulating from scratch, this is why. Because formulation doesn't start in the kitchen with a recipe. It starts by designing on paper before you even think about getting your ingredients out. So, what does a professional formula look like? Well, it looks like this. It's structured. It's not a random list of ingredients put in any order. It's written in phases, usually labelled A, B, C, and so on. Phases combine ingredients into logical groups. In a simple product like this facial oil that contains only oils, everything is labelled phase A. But if your product contains water and oil, your water phase could be labelled phase A and includes all of your water-soluble ingredients, and your oil phase can be labelled phase B and contain all of your oil-soluble ingredients. Phases also clearly show the order in which ingredients need to be combined. You can't just add ingredients in any order. Some need to be mixed together first and then added to the rest. Some need to be heated, others must be added at the end. In this example, some ingredients need to be heated so they are grouped together and labelled phase A. The other ingredients need to be added when the product has cooled down to 40 degrees Celsius, so we have labelled them phase B. A formula clearly groups the ingredients together and shows the order in which they are combined at a glance. A formula will use the common name or trade name of the ingredient because that's what you're most familiar with, for example, shea butter or sunflower oil. But a formula will also include the INCI name, the official scientific name of each ingredient. If you sell your products, the INCI name is also required for your documentation and your product label. So it's important to get familiar with INCI names. A formula also lists the function of each ingredient. You can see this in the fourth column. Function is the role that the ingredient plays in the formula. This is important because you can clearly see why the ingredient is being used and what it does in the formula. And most importantly, a formula includes the percentage of each ingredient. It doesn't list cups, spoons, drops, grams, or anything else. A formula always lists each ingredient by its percentage. And a formula always equals 100%. Always. That percentage tells you exactly how much that ingredient represents in the total formula. The symbol W/W percentage means weight for weight percentage. Because in professional formulations, we weigh all of our ingredients, even the liquid ones. So if an ingredient is 5% of a formula, that means 5 grams in a 100 gram batch. If you scale up and make a bigger batch, like a 1 kilogram batch, this would mean 50 grams in a 1 kilogram batch. The amount in grams has increased because the batch is bigger, but the ingredient still represents 5% of the product. The percentage hasn't changed, and neither has the product structure. That's what makes it professional. And that's what makes it scalable. So professionals design a formula on paper first. They decide, what is the purpose of this product? What texture am I aiming for? What is each ingredient doing? What percentage of each ingredient is needed? They create a formula following the required structure and considering the usage ranges of each ingredient. Only after they have planned it out do they make anything. There are many reasons formulas are written in percentages. First, structure and safety. Cosmetic formulas follow a structure. They need to contain certain ingredients in certain percentages to work. In a professional formula, you can see instantly if they contain the required ingredients in the required percentages. This is impossible to see in a recipe that uses mixed measurements like cups, spoons, and drops. And also, many cosmetic ingredients have safe usage ranges. For example, a preservative might only be safe to use at up to 1%. When your formula is written in percentages, you can see clearly that you're using it within that safe range. In a recipe, that isn't always obvious. I just made a skincare formula framework for people who want to understand the structure of professional formulas and start formulating skincare the professional way. It shows the simple structure cosmetic chemists use to build safe, stable formulations. If you'd like a copy, you can sign up for it below. Secondly, accuracy. Other types of measurements like cups, spoons, and drops are very inaccurate. Some ingredients are more compact than others, so you'll get a different amount every time you measure a cup of something, for example. Droppers are different sizes, so a drop will never mean the same amount every time. When you create a formula in weight for weight percentage and weigh all of your ingredients in grams, you will be measuring in the most accurate and consistent way. You will always measure the same amount and always get consistent results. Measuring by weight instead of volume also eliminates inconsistencies caused by temperature changes. Liquids expand and contract, but weight doesn't. A third reason formulas are written in percentages is consistency. Another really common problem is batches turning out differently every time you make them. This is so common when following recipes. When you follow a formula and weigh your ingredients, your product will be consistent every time you make it. So if you want to sell your products, you can be confident every batch will be the same. And if someone else manufactures your product, they can recreate it exactly. The fourth reason formulas are written in percentages is scalability. We hear from so many people that when they try to scale up a recipe, something goes wrong and it doesn't turn out the same. The easiest way to fix this is to start using formulas. If your formula is written in percentages, you can make 50 grams or 500 grams of a product and it will be identical. Nothing breaks or goes wrong when you scale. And the fifth reason percentages are important is documentation. If you ever plan to sell your products, professional formulas become part of your technical records. They show exactly what's in the product and in what percentage. So all of this shows that if you want to make professional quality products, a properly structured and professionally written formula is not optional, it is essential. This is why professionals don't rely on recipes. Recipes can be helpful when you're starting out. They're easy to follow and might create something that's okay, but if you want to become a cosmetic formulator, someone who understands the logic, the structure, and the why, you need to move beyond recipes. You need to start thinking in percentages. You need to start designing before you make anything. And once you do, you stop guessing, you stop wasting ingredients, and you start feeling confident. If you only remember one thing, remember that formulating starts on paper long before you ever step into the kitchen or get your ingredients out. It starts with design by asking, what is the purpose of this product? What texture am I aiming for? What is each ingredient doing? Then moves to percentages by asking, what percentage of each ingredient is needed? What percentage will be effective? What is the safe percentage? This thoughtful planning and designing is the difference between following recipes and formulating. Now that you understand what a professional formula actually is and why it starts with structure and percentages, the next question becomes, if that's how professionals do it, why do recipes fall apart the moment you try to adjust them? Why does scaling break everything? Why does one small tweak ruin the entire batch? And why does it still feel like you're guessing? In the next video, we're going to break down exactly why recipes don't teach you how to think like a formulator, and why that's the real reason your products don't feel professional yet. I'll link to it right here.